We're talking with Mr. Corvette, Dick GULDSTRAND. But Dick, before you were involved with Corvettes, you had quite an involvement with movies, and one of those early ones was The Big Wheel with Mickey Rooney. Could you tell us about that?
Oh yes, well thank you for asking. My involvement was obviously because you're in Southern California. You're either a hot rodder or a candy ass, when you're in high school. I went to LA high school and was enthralled by what was going on in the community at the time. So what you have to do is start working on cars, that you're not a jock. And so I worked for a lot of the people at that time, Vic Edelbrock and Ed Eskandarian and a lot of the greats today. I was a kid in the shop working with them, and in doing that, I was over in Culver City working with Louis Centers, who I drove his midget for him. A guy walked in from the studios and said, "Can we get a couple of people to work on a movie?" And he said, "Well, what's the movie?" He said, "Well, Mickey Rooney's going to do a thing called The Big Wheel." And I, "Oh yeah, gee, that," because I was driving the midget. So he says, "Well, in a couple of days we're going to be out at the Culver City Speedway off of Washington Boulevard, and which was an old dog track, by the way. And it was dirt track, and he said, we'll be out there at a certain time of the night, so on. If you'll be there with your car, we'll give you $20, Oh, boy, $20, God, that was more than I made in a week, So we all went over to Culver City Speedway, and sure enough, here was a bunch of the stunt people, and they had cars, and tragically, Mickey Rooney never showed up, but so all we were doing was background, scenes. And the most exciting thing about that part of the movie was the part where they crashed through a fence. Because the rest of it was we just driving around behind each other, not at real high speed. Once in a while we'd get together and really go at it. But in general it was pretty well staged, a couple of camera cars and a bunch of stunt people. But the way they did that crash through the fence amazed me. Watching the stunt guys set this car up, because what they did was they put a little like a firecracker in a hub, and they blew the wheel off. They actually blew the little carrier off, and the wheel came off, and then they drove it through this balsa wood fence. And they had to do it about 4 times to get it right. But I thought, well, this isn't going to be too good in the movie. Well, my God, what a spectacular scene. When this thing came off and the guy's screaming and, oh, my God, and then the car catches fire, and I don't know if you remember the movie. And here he is, out in the field, on fire and through the fence. And I got hooked. I mean, that was an exciting part of that movie. And we did some other things on the sound stage. We went in and made some soundtracks with the car engines and a couple of shots, of the car and different configurations. So it was really fun. And a lot of it was done back in Indianapolis, which I really didn't get involved with. But all of the Culver City stuff and all of the studio things I pretty much was involved with at that time. That was, I believe, in '47.
So almost 20 years later, I guess it would be that you were involved with another movie, the Grand Prix. Tell us how you're involved with that one.
Well, that Grand Prix was the most incredible movie I think ever done to that time. It took 2 years to do it. The first year they did all the shooting in Europe at all the tracks, and they developed a background in shooting all of that, so then they could emulate it when they did the movie the next year. So they already had the background and the cars and the right sounds and the numbers on the cars and the people. So then they just put the cars together for the real movie part of it, when they were shooting the actors and so on, and they really got involved, and the Formula One group was very, very supportive. They were wonderful to work with, really great guys, and so it really made it happen. And a lot of that driving in those scenes were the real race cars, and they just kind of phonied the sound, so it sounded like somebody else's name, and the cars, of course, were the real cars, and then they put other cars that looked like them, or actually Formula Fords and stuff.
Well, what actually did you do?
Well, I worked with Bob Bondurant. Bobby Bondurant was one of the stunt coordinators in that. And some of the work that was done in the studios in California was what I got involved with. And Bobby Bondurant and I were very, very good friends, and we were teammates. We drove together. So he got me involved in it in that respect. So we helped out with some of the staging of it and all that. So I got to work with him, and then of course we were at the grand opening at the Dome, you know, at the Astrodome, and
That was when it was first shown?
that was when it was first
Premiere.
shown. 60,
Was that was the premiere? Was it the Astrodome?
6 or 7. Yeah, it was the Astrodome.
They had a big giant screen?
Yes, oh God, yes. And talk about startling. Here's this fabulous movie, you know, the sound and the excitement and the drama on this big screen. It was overwhelming. It was just phenomenal. I believe it was 66.
Yes.
And then so Bobby and I had been putting together one of the Shelby Daytona coupes. So we had restored that, so we drove that to the grand opening and drove up in front and got out, you know, and all, made a big thing about it. No, it was really exciting. We figured we were stars.
Were a number of the stars there, like James Garner and Yves Montand and Eva Marie Saint?
Yeah, a lot of the stars were there. Montand, James Garner, Eva Marie Saint. Yeah, a lot of the really top people were there. And of course, we had all sort of become friends. Well, you know how it's like a family. When you make a movie, you spend so much time together that you become friends. You become really close. And after the movie, Jim Garner and Bobby and I got together and said, God, this has been wonderful. What can we do to keep this relationship going? So Jim Garner started a company called American International Racing. And Bobby and I were executives of, in which we started off, and getting 3 brand new Corvettes to run in the series. You know. So out of that came that wonderful company called American International Racing.
And later on, again, as well, you were involved with, I don't know, maybe it was before or after, I'm not sure, Elvis Presley with Viva Las Vegas, was that the one?
Yes, well there were three of the Elvis Presley movies that I became involved with. Speedway, Viva Las Vegas, and I can't remember the other one.
Spin Out or something.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the Viva Las Vegas was a scream. I mean, it was, you know, we were out in the desert running around in these cars, and a very dear friend of mine almost got killed. And he rolled his Jaguar, and somebody drove right into the top of it. And I thought he was dead. But Kerry Lufton was his name. He's passed on since. But well, we did some crazy things to make that movie. The one thing that I do remember is how really personable he was. Elvis was a prince. It was like a kid that was out of place. He wasn't a celebrity. He was just a guy having a real good time. And I think the celebrity really bothered him, because we were on a soundstage doing this run across and jump into the cars, you know, and we all had our sneakers on, you know, our racing shoes. He had on these leather shoes. Well, he's running across the stage, falls down, slides right underneath the car, you know. And here we have to drag him out. He's howling, he's laughing so hard. And we tried to pull him out, and then we got some sneakers on him. He could run across without falling on his ass. But stuff like that really he was just wonderful. I remember that very well. And the Speedway thing, we were doing all that out in Paramount Ranch. And he was there with all the girls and the fun. And again, just a pleasure. We had a really good time. We helped put the stock cars on that.
Yeah.
So it was, if you were a part of the Southern California community and you were into racing, there's no way you could keep out of the movies, because they'd always be dragging you up to do something or calling you up to do this or, you know, working on that. And so, and of course, a lot of the celebrities were friends of mine. You know, Steve McQueen, a bunch of those people. Were really great guys, and we all got together and not only raced together but enjoyed company, you know.
Steve McQueen was quite a good racer in his own right.
Excellent driver. So was Jim Garner. really a good talent.
Yep.
And they just loved the racing. Well, it's like Paul Newman. He and I were really good friends, and he was a damn good driver. You know, but it was the real world. It wasn't the Hollywood, you know, glitz. It was, you're out there with the guys doing the real thing, and I think that really was exciting to a lot of the actors.